Guilford's Jacobs Beach, the location of Tuesday morning's bill signing by the governor, in part because of the community's response to climate change.
Several years ago, we adopted a coastal resilience plan, which included several significant initiatives, 3 of which were road elevation projects that we needed to do.
The legislation, known as an Act Concerning Climate Change, offers communities the opportunity to apply for $30 million in state grants to transition from planning climate change adaptation and resilience projects to implementing them, including those experiencing sea level rise, which has flooded Route 146 in Guilford regularly during high tide.
Also, more frequent intense storms, more frequent hot days, drought impacts to forests. It's impacting all of our infrastructure.
But one local lawmaker says putting environmental decisions in local communities' hands is not the best choice.
Locally, we do Earth Day, we have programs for recycling. Those are the ways I think our local communities can sort of contribute in a small way. But these global emission issues really need to be done at a higher level.
Of course, when you talk climate change, most focus on coastal communities, especially beach areas. But Commissioner Dyke says don't forget about the cities, where air quality is often an issue.
You think about a stretch of hot weather like we've seen already this summer several times, days above 90 degrees. Those are days when it's really tough. If you've got asthma, if you've got other types of respiratory illness.
Officials say every dollar of state funding used will trigger up to $3 or $4 of federal money.
Making sure that we're able to raise the roads, making sure we have the flood runoff as we need it, make sure we have the stormwater runoff going forward.
The state will release the plan for applying for grants in the coming weeks. In Guilford, Tony Terzi, Fox 61 News.